Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I am talking to you guys about all the books I read this summer. It's already September 1. Today I'm filming this on September 1 and summer is over basically. Yeah, just winter long, short winter days are upon us, and I just thought that I would go over all the books I read throughout June, July and August and share them with you so that you might find some recommendations and find your next book maybe. Yeah, so without any further ado, let's get started. The first book I read, I will start in chronological order, meaning that the first book I'll talk about is the first book I've read in June, and then I'm going to make my way to the most recent book I read, and this one I just finished like 2 days ago. So yeah, the first one I read, or the first two I read, are a series or a duology, and those are Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo and Crooked Kingdom, also by Leigh Bardugo. I don't have the Crooked Kingdom copy because I left it back home in Morocco, so I only have Six of Crows, and I loved this duology so much. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's a fantasy set in a fantasy world that is inspired by Amsterdam. I spoke about this in detail a bit on one of my videos that I'm going to link here. So this is the world it's set in. It has an amazing cast of characters. There are city outcasts, kind of criminals, and they go on adventures and on missions, on one particular mission, and I just love the characters, so diverse, so well written. I could not put it down. If you're looking for a good fantasy, I highly recommend it. It's by far one of my top 3 maybe favorite books of the year, so I would highly recommend it for all of you fantasy lovers. Yeah, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, both by Leigh Bardugo. The next book I read is one maybe of my greatest disappointment of the year. This book is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I'm sure you've heard about this book before. The author won a Nobel Prize. I don't think it's for this book, I think it's for another one, but he is the Nobel Prize winner. Could be even for this book actually, I don't know. And this is a speculative fiction, kind of utopia. I don't want to say much about it because you should go kind of blind into it, because saying something would be spoiling it, but I absolutely did not love this book at all. It was really, really wrong writing on so many levels. Like, the storytelling was so wrong. I did not connect with nothing. Not the characters, not whatever was happening. The topic or the main premise of the book, or whatever he was trying to make a stand for, is clear. I mean, I don't know if I should say it, I feel like I should not say it. Was a good cause, something worth speaking about, and I think that speaking about it in the form of speculative fiction makes a lot of sense, but the execution of the idea was just really bad. Like, these characters, I couldn't care less about whatever was going on in their lives. The speech, the narration, everything is so wrong and blank, and there's nothing, and there's no bridge between the reader and whatever is happening. I've heard so much about this and I was so excited and I had such high hopes, but they were crushed. I give it like a 2 stars because I don't like giving 1 star to books, but I don't know, it was not even okay. Like, it was not okay. I really did not like this book at all, and if you want me to give you more reasons and talk about it in details, just let me know, I will. But the fact is that if you speak too much in detail about this book, you're gonna spoil it, so, and I don't want to do that, but it was an absolute nope for me. Next, I read a non-fiction, which is The Little Book of Hygge, The Danish Way to Live Well. I have a full-on video about this book, so I'm not going to spend any time talking about it. I will leave the link to it down here somewhere. It's a really nice video, one I really loved filming because I review the book, but at the same time I do a little room tour kind of thingy, so you get to see my space a little bit, because Hygge and space, they are kind of related, so That's, you can go and watch in detail. Then I read another fantasy, sorry, and this was Three Dark Crones by Kendra Blake. I really like it. Like this series is about these three sisters that have to kill each other to get into the throne. And the magical system here is basically this group of people. Some are elementals, so they can control natural elements. Some are poisoners, so they can poison and never get poisoned. And they are naturalists, and those are really good with the fauna and the flora, meaning they have these familiar, which are animals that they are kind of bond with. They're really good with communication with nature, at hunting, and so there's one queen for each of these groups of people, and they are fighting each other to the throne, and it's really nice. I really liked it, but I love the second book more, and I'll talk about it because I also read it this summer. So next, I read Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Yes, I'm reading the Harry Potter series in English, and this is the second to last, so I only have one left. It's Harry Potter, so obviously it's good. I loved it, even though I have to say that this one, the Half-Blood Prince, was my least favorite out of all the books. There's quite some wrong things with this book, to be honest. Like, some of the romances that were forming were just like, whoa, what just happened here? Like, what? How? Like, it was very just, like, I knew these romances would happen, but the way they happened is just super quick, insta love, and it just did not really fit well with the Harry Potter world that we know. And also, so many characters with me, I didn't get them. Like, I didn't get what they were doing. I still loved it, but I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars because it's my least favorite out of the series so far. But yeah, hopefully the grand finale is as great as all the books I've read before. Of Harry Potter, obviously. Okay. Next on the list is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I don't know how to say this word. I read this one in a weekend. I remember the weekend I was just really sitting here in my reading chair, right here, you guys, and I just took it all in. I loved it. This is a contemporary about this woman and her husband. Basically, she's married to someone she met in high school. They've traveled around, studied abroad together, got married, lived 10 years together, and then he is a documentary maker, so he goes in this expedition to Alaska, and his helicopter crashes and he is believed to be dead. So yeah, so she thinks, and all his family think that he's dead, and so she moves on with life. She meets another guy, and then her husband is back, and she's already engaged to another guy that she really loves, and her husband is back, and so there is this entire clash between what do you do. And when I read the back, because all of these information are in the back, I was like, oh my god, that's something I think about all the time. Like, what if that happened? Because I'm always super interested with the concept of death in a partnership or relationship. Like, when your partner, let's say, I don't know, it could be anything, like your partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, long-term girlfriend, whatever it is, someone you built something with, and they just die, and you love them so much. Like, how do you carry on? How easy is it to just meet someone else? And what do you do with the love you had for the deceased people? And I always had this question: if you meet someone else and say you move on, what would you do if the person you really loved came back from the dead? And I would think about it all the time, like in the train, just somewhere, or like by watching shows and seeing partners die left and right. And then this book existed, and I was like, I need to pick it up, because, and so it was really good, because it's like it's struggling to define what love is, and how do you really put it into the spectrum of your life. Do you outgrow the person you love? It's a great read. I really love the job of the author at really exploring these things that we don't talk about often, but I really love this, like, these hidden parts of the brain and of the heart. It was a nice topic and a nice subject, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's so well written, and it really keeps you going. I highly recommend it. Really highly recommend it. For all of you who love contemporary, or also if you don't. Next up is Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. Now, this is for all my Gilmore Girls fellow fan. I love Gilmore Girls. It's one of my all-time favorite shows. And this is basically the autobiography of Lorelai, as we know her from Gilmore Girls, or Lauren Graham. I remember reading this in Croatia, actually. It has sand all over the place. This is her autobiography. It's full of fun. She's super funny in the way she's very true to her character. She has like a notch of sarcasm. She is very funny in the way she tells the story. She's very down to earth, very realistic. She speaks about her struggling to make it to the film industry. She starts as an actor in theater and then moved to make Parenthood and Gilmore Girls, and she speaks also about the behind the scenes of Gilmore Girls as well as the Year in the Life, the Netflix original. I really highly recommend it if you love Gilmore Girl and you're interested in knowing more about the people behind that show. So I would recommend this. It's obviously non-fiction. Next, I read The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstein, which I've seen some people speak of as the book that's gonna become the classics from our generation. Some people say it's the best book they've ever read, the book that changes their lives. I did not get this book at all. Like, whatever they say here is wrong. It's about this magical circus, these people having a competition, these many things that do not make any sense. You know, the writing is beautiful, lyrical, whimsical, but you just hide a lot of issues behind the writing. That's really what I felt by reading this book. It's basically the author having so much issue bringing things together, and so she just hide all the weaknesses of the plot behind the beautiful writing. And I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, but it just annoys me that whatever they say here is so not what's happening in the book. It's so misleading, and it's big, it's not small. So I invested a lot of time in here and just was so disappointed. It's just a circus doing magical stuff and characters that are weird things happening, no explanation. You know, someone who's complicating the event so much and the plot so much, and then at the end is stuck and fails at revealing everything. That's what happens with this book, and it was just really not okay. So I don't recommend this one at all. Then I read the second book of the Three Dark Throne series, and it's One Dark Throne, and this one I loved so much more because I was attached to the character. I really grew to love them. But I am all about the naturalists. I love naturalists, their queen and everyone around. I love the relationship they have with the earth and the animals and the concept of familiars. I love this one. It was so packed with actions. I was a page turner. It really hooked me, so I would recommend this series. I still need to read 2 more books in the series, but this one is great. So if you also really crave a fantasy. Then I read a book that I don't have here, and it's Save the Date by Morgan Matson. I love Morgan Matson. She's the epitome of summer reads, and I've been reading all her books throughout my summers. I missed last summer, but I read Save the Date placed in the course of one weekend when one of the siblings in the family is getting married. So it's all of this family drama, and yeah, it's great. I loved it. So that's a good Morgan Matson. Then I read Where Do You Go Bernadette by Maria Semple. The movie is actually coming out. I think it came out with Troy Belisario from Pretty Little Liars, Spencer. I really, I love the book. It's such an interesting concept. It's set in Seattle, and the entirety of the book is social satire, and many people don't understand that it's just a satiric book, like it's not serious. So it just is this satire of this social group of Seattle that work in Microsoft and all these IT people, and the other families and their lives. And one of these people is Bernadette. Like, she has a past and she's married to this super smart Windows IT guy, Microsoft IT guy, Microsoft IT guy, and she lives there and she has a kid who's also super smart, but this Bernadette disappears, and the book is a series of emails, like a bunch of mailing items that her daughter put together in order to try to find her, and I really loved it. I would highly recommend it. It's so many things in the same time, and I love reading a good social satire. And then I read Border Crime by Trevor Noah. I'm not gonna say anything about this book because my last video was a review of this book, so I will leave you the link here. You can go and watch it, but it was a 5 out of 5 star, and I highly recommend it. Then I read another book, obviously. And this book is A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. It's set in Sweden. I don't read many books set in Sweden. And it's about this grumpy old guy that lost his wife, that is super grumpy, super weird, doesn't like anyone, is hateful. Anything you could imagine in an old grumpy person. But then the book's unraveled, and then you see the beauty of humans, basically, and like inside maybe inside the grumpiest, most negative, hateful people from the outside, you can find a really softy heart, and it's heartwarming. It has many elements that I loved. It's so diverse. It has immigrant family in Sweden, which is very realistic because there's a lot of immigrant in Sweden. It also had LGBTQ plus representation, and overall a very accurate social representation of Sweden, which I loved. And I loved reading from the perspective of an old, grumpy Swedish man. It's a brand new perspective for me, so it opened my eyes on so many other things, and I just wanted to give this book a huge hug. Gives me all these bubbling, fuzzy feelings, and I would highly recommend it. Then I reread The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. I'm not going to say anything about this book because I have a 20 minutes video just talking about this book, so I will link it for you guys here, and then you can go and just, you know, see from yourself. So yeah. Last but not least, I read The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This, guys, is magical realism, and it tells the story of Ava Lavender, which is a girl who was born with a set of wings. Not only that, it also tells the story of the family throughout the 3 generations of Ava's mom, Vivian, and Vivian's mom, and Ava's grandmother, Emilian. So it goes from the moment Emilian migrated from France to the United States in the turn of the century, early 1900, all the way through the 50s. And there are 2 main things I really loved about this book. First of all, the fact that it was magical realism, historical fiction, and coming out of age stories. Also family like storytelling with the family tree and many generations. All of that in one book, that I really appreciated. And the second thing is the writing. The writing is delightful. It's a treat. It's so whimsical, it's so lyrical, it sounds like music, it reads like a dream. I loved it. Walton's game on writing is so strong, and she created this atmosphere so appropriate for the story she was telling, and so appropriate for magical realism. Magical realism basically is when elements of magic find their way into our normal lifestyle, normal human, but they do not necessarily create these crazy reactions from people like, oh wow, magic. No, it's basically whatever, people go on. So that's magical realism, and I would recommend that if you're into this niche of readers and want to discover this new genre. But the writing, to be honest, is what kept me reading. It was really the writing. It was a treat, a real treat. So guys, those were all the, I don't know, those 16, maybe 17, 18, I don't know, all the books I read this summer. Tell me, what are the books you've read this summer? If you had any new favorite from your summer reads, what would you recommend? I hope you had a great summer, and I hope you're ready for September, to go back to school, to go back to work. Usually September is this month of going back to being productive. I mean, not that you're not necessarily productive in the summer, people work and study in the summer all the time, but like, you know, winter is upon us, you know, the cold, so we're getting ready. So I'm sending you so much love, so much support if you need it, and even if you don't, I am sending you support. I believe in you, and I am sending you so many hugs. I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!